Good morning, everyone. My report this morning is about the Republic Act 7610. This act is about the special protection for children against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination act. Republic of the Philippines Commission on Human Rights, or the Child Rights Center, Region Number 6. The rights of a child. When do rights begin? Philippine Constitution, Article 2, Section 12. The state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basic and autonomous social institution. It shall equally protect the life of the mother and the life of the unborn from conception. So here we can see that the rights begin from the mother's womb. Before we are born, we have already the rights to live, to have a happy life and gender. When do rights begin? PD 603 Article 3 Number 1. A child is endowed with the dignity and worth of a human being from the moment of conception, as generally accepted in medical parlance, and is therefore entitled with the right to be born well. Definition: children, persons below 18 years of age, or those over but are unable to fully take care of themselves or protect themselves from abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, or discrimination because of a physical or mental disability or condition. So here we can see as children below 18 years old must be protected from this act because they don't have still the skill or the knowledge to protect themselves. Child abuse refers to maltreatment, whether habitual or not, of the child, which includes any of the following: psychological and physical abuse, neglect, cruelty, sexual abuse, and emotional maltreatment. Any act of deeds or words which devises, degrades, or demeans the intrinsic worth and dignity of a child as a human being. So here, if we see someone or a child is being abused, that thing can be called as a child abuse. Unreasonable deprivation of his basic needs for survival, such as food and shelter, failure to immediately give medical treatment to an injured child resulting in serious impairment of his growth and development or in his permanent incapacity to death. Child abuse can also be referred to children who were not treated on the time that they has to be treated, like on the hospitals or also in their food and in shelter. If a child cannot be given these things that he has needed, it can also be called a child abuse. Offenses against children under RA 7610: child prostitution and other sexual abuse, attempt to commit child prostitution, child trafficking, attempt to commit child trafficking, child pornography and indecent shows and publication, other acts of neglect, abuse, cruelty, or exploitation, and other conditions prejudicial to the child's development. So these are the offenses that can be used. Oh, these are the offenses that is inside of the RA 7610. Child prostitution and other sexual abuse. Who are deemed to be children exploited in prostitution and other sexual abuse? Children, whether male or female, who for money, profit, or other consideration or due to coercion or influence of adult syndicate or group, indulge in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct. So here we could also see that sexual abuse in these days very common, especially when it comes to money and profiting of it. That's a very bad thing. So no matter what happened, we have to protect our children. What is lascivious conduct? Means the intentional touching, either directly or through clothing, of the genitalia, anus, groin, breast, inner thigh, or buttocks, or any act of lewdness. So here, a conduct can be done if an adult is touching a child's private parts, especially the genitalia and breast. Done with force or intimidation, fraudulent, missionation, or grave abuse of authority, or where the offended party is deprived of reason or otherwise conscious, unconscious, with intent to abuse, humiliate, harass, degrade the child, or arouse, gratify the sexual desire of any person. Bestiality, masturbation, mischievous exhibition of the genitalia or public area of a person. This conduct is very horrifying for a child because if he or she grows up, it will always play on his or her mind. So no matter what happens, always and always watch your children if ever they would go with strangers or with people that you don't really trust. Who may be liable? Who may be liable? Those who engage in or promote, facilitate, or induce child prostitution, which includes but are not limited to the following: acting as a procurer of a child prostitute, inducing a person to be a client of a child prostitute, taking advantage of the influence or relationship to procure a child as a prostitute, threatening or using violence towards a child to engage him as a prostitute, giving monetary consideration, pecuniary benefit, penalty, reclusion temporal, med reclusion perpetual. Those who commit the act of sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct with a child exploited in prostitution or subject to other sexual abuse. Penalty same with Art 335 and 326 of RPC except if victim is under 12 years old. Those who derive profit or advantage therefore as manager or owner of the establishment where the prostitution takes place, establishment serving as cover, or which engage in prostitution in other activity it was licensed for. Penalty reclusion temporal, med reclusion perpetual. Any person not being a relative of a child is found alone with the said child inside the room or cubicle of a house, an inn, hotel, pension house, apartel, or other similar establishment, vessel, vehicle, or any other hidden or secluded area which would lead a reasonable person to believe that the child is about to be exploited in prostitution and other sexual abuse. Any person receiving services from a child in a sauna, parlor, or bath, massage clinic, health club, and other similar establishments, penalty 2 degree lower than the prescribed for the consummated felony. Any person who shall engage in trading and dealing with children, including but not limited to the act of buying and selling of a child for money or for any other consideration or barter, penalty reclusion temporal reclusion perpetual. If victims is under 12 years old, maximum period. Allowing a child to travel alone to a foreign country, pregnant woman's execution of affidavit of consent to adoption of unborn child for consideration, recruitment of women or couples for childbearing for purposes of child trafficking, simulation of birth by doctor, hospital, clinic, official, etc. for the purpose of child trafficking, finding children among low-income families, hospitals, etc. to sell, penalty 2 degree lower from the consumed felony. So these are the things that can be committed through child trafficking. We could really see that if a child would be on the attempt of child trafficking, he or she would really be on a big trouble. Obscene publication and indecent show. So here, we could also see that if child is being used in pornographic materials to be sold out or to be distributed, this is also be part of the article, and the penalty is the prison year if under 12 years maximum period. Obscene publication and usage shows any ascendant, guardian, or person entrusted in any capacity with care of a child who shall cause and or allow such child to be employed or to participate in an obscene play, scene, act, movie, or show, or in any other acts covered by this section shall suffer the penalty corresponding to Philippine law. Other acts of abuse. Any person who shall commit any other acts of child abuse, cruelty, or exploitation, or be responsible for other conditions prejudicial to the child's development, including those covered by Art 59 of PD 603, but not covered by the revised penal code. Penalty provision may meaning. Other act of abuse. Any person who shall keep or have in his company a minor 12 years old or under, or who is in 10 years or more his junior in any public or private places, hotel, motel, beer joint, discotheque, cabaret, pension house, sauna or massage parlor, beach and or other tourist resort or similar places. So these were the places where an abuse can be placed in or abuse can be done. Exception, person related within the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity or any bond recognized by law, local customs and tradition, or acts in performance of a social, moral, or legal duty. Penalty, prison, mayor maximum, and fine of not less than 50,000 pesos. Any person who shall induce or deliver or offer a minor to anyone prohibited under RA 7640 as above described, penalty, prison, mayor, medium, and fine not less than 50,000 pesos. Any person, owner, manager, or a one trusted with the operation of any public or private place of accommodation, whether for occupancy, food, drink, or otherwise including residential places, who allows any person to take along with him such places or places any minor herein described. Penalty, prison, mayor, medium, and fine not less than 50,000 pesos. Any person who shall use force, or intimidate a street child or any other child to beg or use begging as a means of living, act as conduit or middleman in drug trafficking, or pushing conduct any illegal activities, penalty, prison, correctional, medium, reclusion, perpetual. Penalties for specific crimes. When victims is under 12 years and for purposes of this act, the penalties for murder, homicide, other intentional mutilation, serious physical injuries, reclusion perpetua. For qualified seduction, acts of lasciviousness with consent, corruption of minors, while slave trade 1 degree higher than that imposed by law. Reporting and investigation of child abuse cases. Reporting. A person who learns of facts or circumstances that gives rise to the belief that a child has suffered abuse may report the same, either orally or in writing to the department, police, or any other law enforcement agency or the BCBC. Mandatory reporting. The head of any private or public hospital, medical clinic, and similar institution, as well as the attending physician and nurse, shall report either orally or in writing to the department the examination and or treatment of a child who appears to have suffered abuse within 48 hours from knowledge of the same. Duty of government workers to report. It shall be the duty of all teachers and administrators in public schools, probation officers, government lawyers, law enforcement officers, barangay officials, corrections officers, and other government officials and employees whose work involves dealing with children to report all incidents of possible child abuse to the department. So, as we teachers in the future, it is our duty to report. Failure to report, failure of the individuals mandatorily required to report, and the administrator or head of the hospital, clinic, or similar institution concerned to report a possible case of child abuse shall be punishable with a fine of not more than 2,000 pesos. So, if we haven't reported any abuse, we will have to pay 2,000 pesos. Immunity for reporting. A person who acts in good faith shall report a case of child abuse shall be free from any civil or administrative liability arising therefrom. There shall be a presumption that any such person acted in good faith. So, if we have the courage, if we have the faith to report, we should be just fine because we have the protection. Investigation. Department to act within 48 hours upon the receipt of a reported incident of child abuse. If the investigation discloses sexual abuse, serious physical injury, or life-threatening neglect of the child, immediate removal of the child from his or her home and putting him or her under protective custody will be the immediate action of the department's representative. Remedial procedures. Who may file or complain? Offended party, parents or guardians, ascendant or collateral relative with third degree of consanguinity, officer, social worker or representative of a licensed child care institution, officer or social worker of the DSWD, barangay chairman, or 3 concerned responsible citizens where the offense was committed. If you know of an incident, report it to Commission on Human Rights, the CHR, DSWD, PNP Women and Children's Desk, NBI, DOJ, and Barangay Captain. So here, we could really see that Child Protection Act is very important for the children and of course for our future children. They need this act so that they can live a free and happy life. Our children is our next generation. So no matter what, we really have to protect them and we have to act on protecting them. So thank you and God bless.